Hello, and welcome to episode 19 of The Good Life. Today, we are talking about a psychological tendency that most people engage with fairly frequently until they become aware of it. And then, even when they're aware of it, they still engage with it fairly frequently. But then they can catch themselves engaging with it and they can change it to a more effective way of thinking. So, today, we're talking about psychological rigidity versus psychological flexibility. This is something I talk about every single day with clients that I work with in therapy and in coaching. And so rigidity versus flexibility psychologically is what we're going to be talking about. So I want you to think quick about the things that are important in your life. I call these values. So the things that are of value to you. What makes your life worth living? What makes your life important? What do you actually care about? What are your priorities? And think about that. And then think about the way that you move through life. Do you avoid difficult situations? Do you do things according to I can't do this, I don't know if I can do this, fear, anxiety, old patterns of behavior, something happened a while back and it scared me, so now I'm not even going to try, rules and things that you do in your daily life? Are you a person who comes home and you're like, everything has to be in order, everything has to be perfect, or I'm a mess, or I'm so stressed, or I'm so anxious? When you're rigid, those kind of things happen. They distract you from the present moment. They distract you from the life that you really want to be living. And they take away from any growth that you could be doing because you were so rigidly adhering to things. And a lot of the times they're based on old patterns of behavior. You don't even know why you do them. Sometimes when people will tell me things, and this is a phenomenon that happens, is people, when they have engaged in the same behavior over and over and over for many years, they don't realize that they're doing it, okay? Or it's normal, or it's just something that they do. It's a habit, it's a behavior that's deeply ingrained. And so one of the nice things with therapy, with coaching, is you get somebody from the outside listening to you, caring about you, engaging with you, trying to help you with whatever your goals are. In my group, it's sleep. And so someone will come to me and they'll just be like, I do this, I do this, I do this, and this is why I do it. And sometimes I'm like, tell me more. Why are you doing that? That seems like maybe it's not helping you hit your goals or live a life according to your values. And a lot of the times people are really engaging in these very rigid mindsets and these very rigid sets of behaviors, and it is taking them away from the lifestyle that they want to be living. Okay, so it is not helpful. Let's think about somebody who comes home, they have a family at home, they're not living alone, and they come home and there are dishes that need to be washed, okay? This person might have a very rigid mindset that oh my gosh, there cannot be a dish left on the sink. The kitchen has to be completely clean before I can go to bed. Otherwise, I go to bed and I just think about it and it just eats away at me and then I can't sleep. And then I stress about it all night, or I wake up and go do it and then I'm just mad about it and resentful to my family and then I can't sleep, okay? That's an example. That's fairly rigid, okay? I might, or another coach, let's talk about me, I might come in and be like, tell me more. Why is that such a powerful influence in your life? Tell me about these dishes. Why do you care about these dishes? Why is this such a big deal? And they might say oh, I grew up in a household where if we didn't do the dishes, it was a really big deal. We got into trouble. My mom or my dad or whoever was in my house, grandparent, always said it has to be done. And we were shamed, we were punished if it wasn't done, okay? And I just took that rigid mindset into my life, and now I'm just doing the same thing that my caregivers did. And I might be like, is there any way we can look at this a little bit more psychologically, flexibly? Because this is really impacting your life. This is really impacting your sleep. This is really impacting all your relationships around you, is these freaking dishes. And dishes are a neutral thing. They're not anything that's emotionally charged until we give it that power or whatever that is, those stories we tell ourselves, the behaviors that we always engage in. So maybe we want to look at this in a little bit more of a psychologically flexible way. Okay, so think of rigid, got a rigid thing that's unmoving, you can't bend it. Or you can think about flexibility, it's going to be able to react to things and it's going to bend and it's not going to break. So psychological flexibility is kind of the same thing. So let's talk about the dishes. Let's say the dishes is the issue and someone is like, yeah, this really is kind of a pain in the ass. I don't want this to be my life. I love my family. I want to sleep well. I want to have good relationships with my family. I don't want to be engaged in this bullshit about the dishes all the time. So maybe we might look at it psychologically flexibly and say yeah, you learned some very powerful lessons about dishes growing up, you now have the choice to say, I'm going to engage in those same behaviors. I'm going to have those same rules for my family, those same rigid rules. I'm going to freak out if things are not done. Or I might be like, you know what? My relationships and my sleep are more important than these dishes. These dishes can get done tomorrow. These dishes can get a little bit stinky on the counter, and I don't have to have a panic attack where I can't sleep at night. Maybe someone else can do these dishes. Maybe I'll hire a housekeeper and have them do the dishes twice a week. Maybe I'll up my kids' allowance and they're going to make bank doing the dishes, but it takes it off my plate. Now they're highly motivated to make a lot of money. There's other things that you can do. You can say, like, you know what? Yeah, these dishes trigger me. I freak out like a little maniac when I see these dishes, but I don't want to do that anymore, and I'm going to change this behavior. And then what are you going to do? You're going to look at the dishes, take some deep breaths, relax a little bit, and be like, you know what? I'm going to go have a good night. I'm still going to be able to sleep tonight. I'm still going to maintain a relationship with my family instead of freaking out on them because like they're not doing the dishes. And then I'm going to sleep better because I'm not worked up and I'm not stressed out about these dishes anymore. Okay. Once you start doing that over and over, night after night, it breaks the cycle. You become more psychologically flexible. Okay. You're not that rigid. The dishes are done. I'm going to die. And I'm using the dishes as one example, but people are super rigid in a lot of areas of their life. One thing about rigidity, you will notice, even if you are working on trying to not be so rigid, your rigidity is going to spike when you are stressed, when you haven't eaten, when you are not sleeping well, when you have pressures on you, when you're having to make a stressful decision. You're going to notice, instead of being flexible, you're going to come to this like rigid center point. And now that you know a little bit about rigidity and flexibility, you're going to catch yourself. You're going to non-judgmentally and curiously look at what the heck am I doing right now, and then choose a different behavior that's more flexible, that's going to give you a better life, that's going to allow you to live a life within your values instead of a life just put together by your habits and the things that you do over and over that you haven't really even thought about. It's going to allow you to have a better life. These kind of things are going to reduce your arousal. They're going to reduce your stress, your anxiety, which in turn is going to allow you to sleep a lot better. I have had people engaging in very, very rigid mindsets about their sleep. So catch, where am I being super, super rigid about my sleep? And where can I be a little bit more psychologically flexible, okay? Instead of being super rigid, where can I bend? Where can I be flexible? Where can I give myself a little bit of grace and choose a different behavior? A behavior more aligned with the life that I want to live and the values that I have as a person so that I can have a better life and I can sleep better, okay? Rigidity and flexibility is huge. I even catch myself becoming more rigid when I'm stressed, when I'm under pressure. And sometimes I have to be like, oh my gosh, Melissa, like, what are you doing? You need to be more flexible. Take some deep breaths. Regulate your body so you can regulate your mind and you can stop being so rigid because it's not fun. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't give you a life that's awesome. It breaks down your relationships with people. It messes with your health. There's a lot of reasons to be more flexible than more rigid. So that's a little bit about rigidity and flexibility. It can help improve your relationships, your life, your health, your sleep. I highly recommend you start observing yourself and noticing when you are being rigid and then engaging in more flexible psychological behaviors and see your life improve. All right, that's all I have for you today. See you next time.